Welcome in, everyone, to Barely Educated, episode 115. We are here to preview the slugfest between NFC Central opponents, the Bucs and Bears. You know, we still play them every year, and we're not in the same division anymore.
It does seem like it, doesn't it?
They revamped the division in what, 2002?
02, yeah.
So if you're younger than that listening to this, you don't even know the joke. Congratulations. But the Bears and Bucs are not supposed to play every year, but they do anyway, because whenever they're randomly good, they're good together or something. And then when they stink, they both stink. And here we are.
Yeah.
Chris, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Oh, hello, Mark. Good to see you. It's fun texting with you and cousin Nate and former student Tim during the game last night. That was good times. And one of the joys of football season, I guess, that you don't realize you missed until it happens again. You're like, oh, man, I missed this, so.
Yeah, once again, we crushed it with the Thursday prediction. I would have picked the Eagles for real, though. You're 0-2.
Oh, yeah.
Number one pick currently having Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, how about that? And Justin Jefferson has 300 yards, and they're 0-2. Like, ooh.
Yeah, and the Bears still taking L's last night when they mentioned the whole at 24 years old, he already has more receiving yards than any player in Bears history. It's like we just can't stay out of the firing squad, man. It's just always a straight shot to the Bears.
And every time, I don't know how you feel about this, but anytime Jalen Carter does something, I'm like, ugh.
I mean, I still think the logic made sense because of the locker room as much as anything.
It does, but you need a 3 technique stud to make the cover 2 work, and that it would be nice, but
it would. I was texting cousin Nate about it. Jacob Infante had a hilarious tweet about how, okay, we didn't pick Pickens, we didn't pick Carter, we're gonna do this every time they're on, and blah blah blah, and then he ends it with, "What is life? Why am I here?"
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it was.
Like, is there a God?
I sent it to Nate, and he's just like, yeah, it's funny, like did an LMAO or whatever, and he's like, but Carter had character and football concerns.
Yeah, he did.
The tweet mentioned, like, but we signed Claypool. It's like, yeah, those are two different things. Claypool has football issues, not off the field issues. Yeah. And they are different things for most players, but Carter had both, like almost worse than the Rex for the team, not morally, but just for like a team, was the way he was awful on his pro day too.
Yeah.
Like, and he'd be horrible if he was a Bear. Let's just be honest.
Right. Yeah, and that was brought up before. Like, really, going to the Eagles was the best possible situation for him for mentoring, and So
I guess I missed where he made all these plays last night. He made one awesome play.
Yeah, but
he was really good week 1, and he's a great talent. But the Bears had no business picking him with where they're at as a organization.
Oh yeah, exactly. I agree with that too, because I was thinking about that this morning. That really you needed to commit protection to Justin, and that's what they did. But yeah, we'll get into more of that.
And we'll get it's plenty of time all season for that. So I wanted to lead off with the 5 stages of Bears grief. So that's where this is going.
Okay.
So, and I'm not trying to make light of anyone actually grieving something that matters, but of course their denial, anger, see also the post-game pod, bargaining, that's like the worst one, where you're talking yourself into everything being okay. It's not. We are not okay. Then depression, well, that might be the worst one. Then acceptance. And I would like to submit to you that I have in fact transcended this. There's the 6th stage that I have now reached. Bears grief enlightenment.
Okay. Can you elaborate?
All this suffering. It's all meaningless.
Okay.
Woven into the football fabric of the universe is the fate of some franchises. There's some franchises just never meant to sync up the GM, the coach, and the QB. It's so easy. My only answer to this must be the gods do not allow it. Some teams are just not meant to have a franchise quarterback. You see, the Jets, they tried to skirt this. 4 plays. I'm sorry, Jets. Just join us in quarterback utility. You are allowed to have a great defense every now and then and make a playoff run thanks to it. But you're not going to get sustained greatness via a franchise QB.
4 plays. Wow.
We must accept our fate and just find comedy in it. Right? The Lions are like, we're good now. Pain is coming. It's going to happen. You're not getting away with this. You might win the division and then have like the worst playoff performance ever. Something is coming for the Lions. The football gods are not merciful. How else do you explain Tom Brady winning 6 Super Bowls with that athleticism?
Yeah. 7.
Yeah, well, I meant with the Patriots, but
Oh,
sure.
okay.
And then the Bucs with even less athleticism, so it works.
Yeah. Well, he found the cheat code, I guess, because physically he had a good arm.
Well, it's because
But
quarterback play matters more between the ears than anything else.
right, and he had
Manning and him.
Yep.
Yep. But really, it's why Kyle Shanahan will beat Sean McVay. Right? It's why the Falcons will never escape 28-3 memes. It's why Mike McCarthy will always have a talented roster and underachieve with it.
That's true. He's done that
all day.
He's done that in 2 teams now. Yeah.
It's why even when their talent is good, somehow the Browns will embarrass their fans. The Raiders will have an off-field incident. That one's kind of scary.
Yeah,
you get the point.
Wow, I'm gonna have to sit with that for a bit.
Yeah, you try to reach transcendence and enlightenment, and this is just what we are. It sure beats having hope.
Oh no!
All right, just
hope is a dangerous thing, right?
Okay, that's right.
That's what Red and Shawshank said. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane.
See, also last week. All right. I want to start a weekly bit.
Okay.
Which we more or less did last year unofficially, so to speak, as if anything's official with this podcast. But I want to call this segment Upon Further Review.
Okay.
Go to the booth. Go to the tape. Things we said in the post game that we think after watching the film, all 22, or watching people like JT O'Sullivan and Tim Jenkins. Shout out to those guys. Did a wonderful job this week.
Yes. Check those out.
JT's video was hilarious. Depressing and hilarious all at the same time. Hence, you want to reach enlightenment.
And watch it with headphones because
lots of F-bombs.
Yeah. Can you blame him?
I mean, I don't watch anything without headphones at this point.
Yeah.
The standards on the filtering in YouTube that used to be a little pickier seems a little lighter than it used to be. And there used to be that video would get pulled. Probably. And I'm not sure what the change is. But yeah, he even joked about it. He's like, I'm going to have to bleep these. But they're funny. They're so perfectly timed. And just his level of irritation with what he sees from the Bears on every level. Such a great watch. So
yeah, and before you get to you texted me about that, and I totally agree with what you said. You said it was almost cathartic.
The dog out. She's a puppy in it.
Who let the dogs out? Oh, you let the dogs out. Yeah.
This dog.
You said watching those was almost cathartic, and I totally agree with you.
It was so cathartic for me.
It helped. Yes, totally agree.
And it showed me that I wasn't completely wrong. Okay, dog, you wanted to come out here, and now you're chewing the Barbie doll that the kids left out here. Noble cause.
I may have to put this one on video.
Well, that's okay. They can see a little life.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going back in if you're not going to do anything.
Speaking of seeing things, did you see I took the plunge and got reading glasses finally?
I see you do have glasses, and you have a "We Can Barely Wait" sign, which is
I do. Yeah, a gift from my daughter and her boyfriend, which seems pretty serious.
Trying to get on Dad's good graces, is he?
Maybe he's a good kid though. It's hard.
Okay, well that's good.
It's hard to not like him. He seems to take good care of her. So.
Fair enough. That's the goal.
Yep.
So, upon further review,
yes,
Braxton Jones did not have that bad of a game. He had a couple bad plays. In the JT video, there's the hilarious one where he's lost and he's like doing this as he shuffles down the line and he goes BEARS. That's so funny. Bears Jacks.
That was funny.
That was embarrassing. But otherwise, he held up okay considering the opponent, and so did Darnell Wright for his first game. The tackles were the strength of the line for sure, and I think it's worth pointing out.
I agree, and after you mentioned something about that, I tried to find some videos on that on YouTube, which or on Twitter actually. I found someone had isolated all of Jones' plays in pass protection, and yeah, I totally agree. He just got what got blown up was what two, three penalties, like two false starts and a holding.
Yeah, it was there were penalties on and they were all like on him and that made it look worse, I think, than it
Yeah,
was. And I thought one of the hold it was a false start and two holds, maybe.
maybe
I
that
remember
was.
thinking one of the holds was weak, and I think it was called on him.
Yeah.
And then Luke Getsy. Some of the design is a joke. We had a play where two players stand in the same 5 yard radius in the end zone. Two receivers. It's just incredibly stupid. We had all kinds of plays where the linemen were going one way and the tight end was doing another thing in the blocking. Right? There's the one where Fields takes a sack, which looks like Darnell Wright's worst rep. Cole Kmet runs up and like does this weird slide shuffle thing like a robot. He doesn't block. It's not really blocking anyone. It's like he didn't know what to do. It's like his brain short circuited. Everybody else is in pass pro and he's run blocking. I guess I don't know what he's doing. Right? There's a lot of slop on that
Yeah.
tape. But for Getsy it is weird because there's also a lot of plays where he's got a guy wide open and it works and Justin won't throw it. And that's the big alarming thing about QB1 right now. They broke him maybe. Maybe he'll recover this week, but this kid ripped it coming out of college. Wasn't afraid to take chances. And now he's not. So like with Getsy, it's very hard to evaluate because there were plays there that just weren't being made. And there was a ton of crap that made no sense. So he gets criticism, and I think it is worth pointing out when you watch the all 22, Justin left some yards on the field, and those plays Getsy got a guy open. So I don't know where that leaves us with him. Probably not a great coach, but watching it, the whole thing looked awful on Getsy, and when you review it, you're like, quite a bit of awful, but there's some good there that they just didn't take advantage of because Justin's gun shy now. I'd much rather him be trigger happy.
Yeah, some of the score guys were saying get a little of Jay Cutler in you, or a little sexy Rexy. Just go deep, man. And it was good to hear him say in his press conference this week that he was too conservative. I mean,
Hmm.
whether it translates onto the field or not, just to hear him say that was refreshing. Okay, all right, good. You're seeing what we're seeing because the
He looked
last
like he was,
regime,
yeah.
I was at the last regime, you never knew if they were seeing what you were seeing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, just, it was a very, I don't know, it was just real frustrating because, you want Fields to be good, and he's really not good in the passing game, and it's not worth pretending otherwise. After 1 week is too premature, of course, for this year, but, we need to see him grip it and rip it. 1-2 ball is out. Not Jenkins actually thought he might be going through his progressions too fast. Like he's
Mm.
playing too nervous and going too quick. It's like, hey, that's open there, right? It's all related to the same thing, anticipation too. This is all part of that same problem of what you're seeing and what you're doing in the pocket. And he's awesome out of the pocket. And then stuff like this is on Getsy and on the team. The team's got to have better coaching in this. When the corner blitzes, that ball needs to come out on a side adjustment to the receiver. NFL receivers are supposed to know, okay, run a quick comeback, the corner's gone. Justin makes the guy miss because he's amazing at that. He makes a play and gets a first down. It's terrible football. It's not NFL football to
Mm.
not have that in place or to not have the receiver know that. So
Which
like
one
there's
of
a
the
lot of plays where it's like the players look really weird and goofy and they're doing dumb stuff. Some of that's on them, and some of that's on coaches both, right? Like you got to have them ready to play and they should know better at the same time. And that's why it's so discouraging, I think.
who
But
was it
upon
who's
further review, Getsy wasn't as bad as I initially thought, but still bad. Does that make sense?
yes, it does. One of the guys, I think it was one of the video guys, said it looked like there were no sight adjustments built in.
Jenkins
Was
pointed
that
it out for
Jenkins?
sure.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
both of them did. He and
okay,
JT
okay,
O'Sullivan.
yeah.
So,
And
and
see,
those guys
if
are
you,
great. They're
yeah,
fantastic.
we've tweeted them out from our barely barely educated Twitter account. So check those out. If I find them again, I'll shoot them out again. But yeah, they're definitely worth.
And and Jenkins is usually really optimistic. Like he loves Fields, and they
Hmm.
both want Fields to succeed. JT's brutally honest about stuff, but Jenkins has usually tried to find you a silver lining by the end of the video. You could tell he was struggling with this tape, and like all we have is, you know, maybe it was 1 week and the whole thing was so bad that some of it's bound to improve. But I mean, we got to go a long way right now.
Yeah.
to get to where we think this is going to work.
So can I run
And
two
so yeah,
ideas
your turn.
past you?
Those are my two.
The first one is, after reflecting back on the week, did they not look like a team that didn't take the preseason seriously? I mean, it looked like a preseason game. It looked sloppy.
Yeah, I
It
mean
looked
that's the week one thing, and I don't know how much I don't think the Bears get to say it's only week one because of how bad they were last year too, right? The Bengals will not score 3 points in another game. You know what I
right.
mean? Like they can say that, but at the same time, that doesn't really excuse it, right?
No,
Like
no, 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 no. Not
no, I agree with you though. They looked like well, I would say this. This bleeds into the second thing I wanted to do, or third thing, depending on how you count my joke about enlightenment. But you know, we think about the week that was before we get to the preview, right? Like think about what August was. The Bears were a mess,
Mhm.
and they looked awful against Buffalo, which was really when my alarm bells on the whole "why isn't he
That's
throwing
true.
it" started to
That's
ring.
true. They did, and I dismissed it. I did. You're right. I said, "Ah, it's preseason," but yeah, you were right to be concerned.
But
Yep.
more to the point, maybe this is what you're saying. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but they had a lot of guys out, and we never got a reason for it because they don't have to give us one. But like half the defense didn't play in August
Yeah, and it
till the
looked like
last
it.
game, and then they played like 3 snaps, and then they come out and they play awful against Green Bay.
Yeah. Is it possible they thought, okay, Big Bad Wolf is gone, we can just walk over Green Bay now? Like, could that have been in the back of their minds? I mean, again, it's not an excuse. I'm just trying to find reasons that make sense, and this is what ultimately leads into the bigger point I want to get to here. I need things to make sense here, and nothing is other than they just weren't ready because they didn't prepare because they didn't think they had to.
And how could they be that dumb?
Yes.
The football gods are dropping these thoughts in their head like, oh, they're trying to prepare for the Packers. No, 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 no. The Bears are supposed to get beat down by the Packers, right? And here comes a stray thought that they chase. Oh, we should do checkdowns.
Yeah.
I have your explanation. I think they very much look like a sloppy, poorly coached team in the preseason, other than the two screens in the first game that doesn't really mean anything. And then the game that's supposed to mean something, they were really bad. And the game in between, they said, oh, no, we had those practices. We're not playing anyone.
Yeah.
But it varies. Like sometimes a team will take the preseason off and they'll look fine. Chiefs played everybody and laid an egg against Detroit with the receivers. I mean, Kelsey being out is a big factor, but like they
Yeah.
look sloppy and they played a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the one size fits all answer works, but I think the Bears look like a team that didn't take August very seriously.
Yeah. A young team too that
And a
didn't.
bunch of
Yeah.
players just look like they're goofing around. When you look at when you hear all these reports, so and so is on the sideline but not practicing. It's just like half the team. What was ever wrong with Brisker?
Yeah. Don't
Why
know.
did Edmonds miss the first 3 weeks of August? Whatever was the story with Nate Davis? These are big time vets. Or
Yeah.
well,
We'll
Brisker's
we'll
young, but the
never
other guys are like big additions that they're counting on.
we'll never hear why exactly.
No,
Okay, here's my thing, okay? Like I said, trying to have things make sense. And so I'm thinking about Justin Fields the last.
normally I'm all for that, but go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Here's my conclusion on Justin Fields, and I'll give you uh, some things I was thinking about to get me there. I think it just comes down to him being afraid to make mistakes. That explains all the data to me. And here's some of the data as I put my reading glasses on here so I can
It's
see
getting
it.
serious, everyone.
I know it is. I look more professorial now too, don't I?
Yeah, but now you got
So
to fight the foggy glasses all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. So the they don't trust him argument, that doesn't make sense to me because not only is he still on the team, they didn't try to trade him. They had the opportunity to draft someone else. They could have taken Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or whatever. And they traded for DJ Moore. So clearly to me, they are trying to say, okay, here you go. Let's see what you
Or,
got.
or the
Or
GM and the coach aren't quite on the same page. But yeah, continue.
blow up my argument here.
How dare you, sir?
No, I'm just giving you the alternative because I
Okay.
think
All
we
right.
might be in that world here before too long.
Okay. Another, I don't, it's not a they don't trust him thing because, as you pointed out, on the all 22 stuff, there were guys open downfield. We
They
saw
were
that now.
calling some of them. Yep.
They were, yes. So there's several plays where Mooney or Moore is even if it's like off to the sideline, they're like 15, 20 yards downfield sometimes. So another reason I don't buy the they don't trust him argument. Boy, Matt Spiegel was hammering that hard earlier this week.
Yeah, I don't buy that they don't trust
No,
him either
yeah,
because all they got to do is commit to running the running backs a
yeah,
bajillion times again. They finally
right.
did the one thing I wanted, which was throw it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't point
Um,
that out yet, which is worth noting.
waiting. Another thing here is the idea that, oh well, they didn't like any of the quarterbacks, they're waiting till next year to draft one. But that doesn't make sense to me because if the Bears have another bottom of the season year, Eberflus is gone. I mean, they pulled the trigger on Trestman after 2 years when it was obvious things
Oh yeah.
wouldn't,
Hmm.
So George will do that. He will,
That's
and
my
or,
comp, man.
or
That's been
maybe.
my comp this week is he's
Oh,
defensive Tressman that
oh,
doesn't skip the weight
oh,
room.
oh, yeah.
More on
But
that in a minute, but carry
there's
on.
there's precedent that ownership will not tolerate back-to-back terrible seasons, not losing seasons, but terrible seasons. And then my last thing, Fields has needed to improve his short game and take checkdowns. And to me, he overcorrected this week his first actual game of trying to take checkdowns and take what's given to him more. To me, that makes the most sense, and why maybe he looked a little jittery doing it because he was actively trying to do that instead of looking downfield more, or like you said earlier too, giving up too soon on the downfield stuff. So anyway, based on all of that, the thing that makes the most sense to me is that Fields didn't want to make the downfield mistakes and trying
Makes
to,
sense.
yeah,
Does make a lot of sense. I don't think it's mutually exclusive with the thought that they might not be on the same page organizationally
yeah.
as
I
well.
had not thought of that. You're right. You're right.
But those don't necessarily contradict what you're saying. I think it's also part of, and I think this fits your point, the football robot thing. It's like, okay, I'm going through my reads. I got to be faster. I got to speed up my reads.
Mm.
I got to throw it to the back. No,
Mhm.
you need to get out of the pocket and run more scramble drill and then throw it deeper
Jeez. I hope
because
they,
you're good at
oh,
that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
great, you didn't take as many hits because you checked down some, but like I think it's like he's almost like overly literal with the coaching points.
Yeah.
And I want him to play like looser and less robotic and just kind of be the natural athlete he is. But most of this is fixed if he'll just let it rip if they can protect. And obviously, protection is a huge problem, but some of this is on him, some of it's on the coaches,
Yes.
some of it's on the line. It's a perfect storm. And that's just the offense. I mean, y'all spend more time on the offense because the defense is like, it's so bloody simple.
Didn't know where to
They
start.
don't have a pass rush, and therefore the cover two is pitifully simple by design
Yep.
and easy to pick apart. And they refuse to budge on any of it, and they're all going to get fired if they don't knock it off.
Why are
He's
cover
all
two
up
guys?
there like our philosophical principles are to rush four. You don't have the horses to rush four, buddy. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to make a young QB in his second start think a little more.
Yep.
Like they can't coach like this and keep their jobs. They're going to win four games if they play like they played Sunday. Now, I think they're better than they showed Sunday, but I still don't think they're
Agreed.
good.
Yeah. Why is it cover two guys are so stubborn about their system?
I don't know. Most coaches are super stubborn, but this
Loving
one's an
it.
outdated system too.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
how vanilla it is, it was wild to me how bad they were at running those zone plays. Like the pass
Really
off
bad.
into your zone, the next zone. It's like
Oh my
former
God.
student
Stay up.
Tim's wife,
What was your wife?
his
Mrs.
wife
Tim?
Mary, who Mrs. Tim, who's like, if they're play, he's watching the film. He said, and this is hilarious, and she's like, if they're playing zone, why aren't they covering their spot? Said, Mary, are you available on Sundays? Would you like to call a defense?
Defensive guru me.
I'm going to assume that Mary is somewhat of a football enthusiast, but probably not as into it as Tim. And if she can recognize it, I think it's probably a pretty substantial problem. No offense to you,
Yeah.
Mary, but I'm thinking you might do a better job than Alan Williams at this point as well.
Yeah. Oh, you want to transition there?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think we've harped on the defense. The defense is so obvious. I don't think we need to like analyze it that much. It's
yeah.
terrible. It can't rush with four, and they try to rush with four. And as long as that's their thinking, it's going to keep being terrible.
And I don't want Eddie Jackson to watch receivers running by him in the end zone anymore. Is that too much to ask? You think?
Yes,
Oh,
because
all
it keeps
right.
happening. Now, I want to go to because this will bleed into a lot of things. I've warned you about this ahead of time, and then we'll talk about the whole week. Give me one word to describe the week at Hallis Hall. Right, one adjective basically.
Since the game?
Yeah, since the game. So like
Uh,
this week.
Disheveled.
Disheveled, very good. I like it. Mine's chaos or
Oh, that
chaotic.
was my second choice. Yes.
Nice. So to catch up for people who haven't paid as much attention maybe as we do on Twitter and all this, but in score stories and all these things, we had a report from the Bears blogger who's a buddy of Ted Phillips. Like everybody knows this at this point that pays attention
Oh,
to it.
I did
It's
not know that.
Ted's his source. Like
Oh,
almost everyone thinks it. And he's somewhat
interesting.
close, we
Okay.
think, maybe to Adam Johns. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's had enough scoops that you're not like you don't just immediately dismiss him. You know, like
Yeah.
there's like 100 people on Twitter like my buddy is friend. Nah, this guy actually gets some stuff right. He said George had an impromptu meeting with Poles and Eberflus because he was so mad after the game Sunday. So he had it like Monday, I think it was supposedly.
What in the blue was that?
And he's like, "Yep, it is tense in House Hall this week." Whatever phrases, like he was talking about that, and I'm like, "This is very believable."
Yep.
Then we get the press conferences and the various media appearances for players. Where shout out to Jalen Johnson, totally honest, has a great interview with Parkins and Spiegel.
Yes.
Sign him, please, just because he takes accountability.
Yeah.
He doesn't pander. He explains what he can. Obviously, he's not going to give away like stuff that's a competitive disadvantage, but he takes it on the chin. He talks about, he answers the questions. Man, he's great. I love that guy. And that interview is a big part of it. And he deserves a contract, I think. Although, obviously, some ball production interceptions would be big for that. And then Brisker gets up there and he's like, the fans booed us too early. It's like, I think
Yeah.
we boo the coaches. I don't think fans are booing the players,
No.
basically.
No.
They're booing like 3rd and 5 runs and just incompetent overall play, maybe, but I don't think it's like boo you, Brisker, or a particular player. I do think they're booing the coaching.
I agree.
But
I
that's not a
agree.
good look for a player to say that is just dumb. Never take on the fans like that, buddy. Also, Brisker, just shut up. I know we all love him and we want him to be awesome. He's like really obnoxious on Twitter with his trash talking, and then they don't back it up, and then he blames the
Yeah.
fans. You just need to be quiet for a while, buddy. Let your play do the talking. I tell that to all of you at this point.
Yeah.
Then the coaches do their thing, and they blame the players.
Yeah, that was definitely
Oh, and the,
there
the
if
game
you're
said the game
listening.
plan was fine. It was execution.
What sort of meaningless double talk is this?
Dude, you're gonna lose the locker room if you haven't already. And hits principle is kind of already like one of those things that I feel like has a short shelf life because it's kind of obnoxious. So it's just a baseline. Everybody's supposed to play hard. Like that shouldn't be like a talking point that you preach as your big distinct thing, right? If you don't bring an advantage on the game day with your scheme and your play calling, and the players are going to quickly realize that. What do we always say? Players know first, right? And the players know. And then you're telling us that, oh no, it was execution. Man, that worries me. That's a
Mm,
bad line.
mm,
And then Fields gets up there and he says he didn't play well. And the point is, we have a lot of accountability coming from the players. It doesn't seem like the coaches are taking much responsibility at all. And even in Matt Nagy's first 3 years, not the fourth when he was a big jerk, the first 3 years, he would get up there and be like, "Yeah, that was on me. Well, we ran it in practice and it wasn't as good in the game, and I shouldn't have called it in that." But like he would sometimes say it was his fault.
I'm not an idiot.
Even back then with Nagy, we got that sometimes.
ugh. Oh,
And then we get the weird story,
yes.
disheveled chaos. They're both very good. Excellent choice there. Where Alan Williams wasn't at practice, and now he's not going to be at the game. And okay, my first thought is, okay, I hope his family's okay. You know, in one of those situations, obviously moves
Yeah,
us way
personal
past
reasons is
football.
what we heard.
Yeah,
Personal
they're just
reasons.
telling us personal reasons, and that's fine. They don't need to tell us anything private. You hope it's not a medical thing or a family emergency. But regardless, the takeaway is one of your two most important assistants is no longer at this game, right? That's chaos. It's disheveled, right? It's not, it's
Mm.
chaotic. It's just not what you would normally want in a game week. It gets a very crazy week at House Hall. And you put Brisker on I or not Brisker, Gordon on
Yeah,
IR.
yeah, that
Rough
hurts.
week, man. Rough week. It didn't get much better as the week went on. So, how about them Bucks?
Oh, it's amazing how fast things can turn in the football world, I guess. But if I look back and I'm honest, I was hiding a lot of anxiety and uncertainty about how the Bears would look this year.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's still time to be I still think they'll be better than last year. I don't think they're a 3-win team. I really
I don't
don't.
think they're a 3-win team, and I don't think they're a get their brains blown out, every week kind of team.
You know.
They got just absolutely punched in the face by Green Bay at the line of scrimmage, and the
Yep.
scheme was terrible both ways, especially on defense. They're not 38-20 bad, but I don't think they're good.
You know.
So the Bucs,
The
Bears
Bucs.
at Tampa. Weird things happen in Tampa. Here's the funny thing, frustrating thing. Tampa's probably one of the 5 easiest games on the schedule by talent, right? Like one of the ones that you'd be like, oh, win, pencil it in.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Bears are that for every single team. Every fan base is like, oh, the Bears, we can win that.
Yeah.
So they got to win
Well,
some of these, right?
mhm.
But are they ready to win this game after everything they got to fix from last week? Man.
I can't say yes. I mean, I want to see improvement. I want to see if it was a loss where Fields looked better and the offense looked better and the defense, I don't know, made a third down stop.
Or, is a
I,
3-point game or a 6-point game or closer.
yeah, if they lose a close, high scoring game, I'll feel a little better. But if they lose again like by double digits, they should not be losing to Baker Mayfield and Tampa. Well, Vita Vea, he's still on the Bucs, right?
Yeah, their front seven's still pretty good.
All right, so he
But their
could just
secondary's not great and it's banged up. They got
yeah.
a guy out, they got a guy playing hurt. There's gonna be plays in the passing game if the Bears can hold up and Justin actually pulls the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't run the ball, right? Like they couldn't run the ball last year. I think they only had like 4 yards against the Vikings.
Yeah.
With their amazing run defense, as we saw last night, right? Like
Ooh, yeah, it's
you should make them one-dimensional.
looking like the Vikings aren't that good. Yeah.
And former student Tim watched the
Dude,
Bucks all 22 scouting for us. Look at that. We got a pop
yeah.
out. He talked about how aggressive the safeties were and they hit hard, but you can beat them because of the
Mhm.
aggression.
Yeah.
Yep. I'd love to see the Bears try to exploit that. But I haven't seen enough from the coaches like taking those weaknesses of an opponent into account. Right. Where was the play action last game?
I know. Play
It
action,
was like all the
rollout.
play fakes were like super weak and lame. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They tried one bootleg, and that was where Jones screwed up his one, big
Yep.
in-play
It's one
mistake.
really bad play. Yeah.
But then, yeah, they didn't try it again. They didn't try anything like that again. It's like, why are you not using his strengths?
This is
At
the
least to
perfect
build
game for
on.
the outside zone that's supposed to be their scheme because you don't want to run at Vita Vea and you want to get those safeties charging down aggressively and then you hit the play action off of establishing that
Yeah.
outside zone. So we'll see.
Yeah, what's the Brian Billick thing? Run at speed, run away from strength, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So here's Tim's synopsis for us. Good for the Bears. Baker Mayfield is bad, real bad. Accuracy is poor. They don't have a dominant line, so the running game is worse than you think. Not a lot of top line speed in the passing game. And I think Jalen will handle Mike Evans okay, because that's a big physical guy, and Jalen is too. I think he has more trouble with speed, but I don't know if they're going to have him shadow. I don't think they do that. They play a lot of soft zone. Linebacker speed is okay, but they can be beat deep. Most linebackers, I think you could say that about. Winfield plays center field, but he's aggressive, so you can exploit that. There's no real reason this team should have beat Minnesota. That's true. Minnesota shot themselves in the foot. Bad for the
Mm-hmm.
Bears. I'm kind of skipping a little bit, but although they play zone, they will use a lot of stunts. They will blitz a ton, by the way.
Yeah, he likes to
That's
blitz.
the game
Yep.
right there. The game right there is won or lost based on the Bears' ability to handle confusion up the line.
Yep.
The Bears don't really have a defense which will cause Baker to be more accurate. You really need to play tight man on them. Defense gets better as it gets in the red zone. Yeah, they really buckled down against the Vikings in the red zone. Receivers are savvy, as we know. Mayfield looks to be playing protect the football. If he does, he won't kill him. So all that said, the 1-0 Bucs versus 0-1 Bears. What are you thinking?
Well, I need the Bears to prove me wrong, or at least to show me that they can win before I can pick them to win, I think.
Yeah, same here. I wish it wasn't so.
Yeah.
This
So
is a totally winnable game.
I'm gonna go let's see, how about 26-24 Bucs.
Okay, I'll go 23-20 Bucs.
Okay.
which
So
means I got the Bears scoring 20 both games.
yeah,
That's what happened.
Hey, how about this? They scored 20 last week and they look terrible. That's a little improvement, right?
Yeah, I sent you the message the other day, like, man, how many Nagy games we have killed for 20 points?
Yep. Yep.
Packers Falcons before we run out of time here. I want to get the other division games picked. Packers Falcons. Now, there was a tweet I just saw recently, like right when we started. The Packers injury list grows
Yes, it does.
considerably.
Jones is on it. Watson's
Jones is
still on
on
it.
it. Watson's still on it. Dobbs is good to go. He's not on it at all now. But that's not a great formula heading into the road. And I think the Falcons are sneaky wild card contender, especially if they get anything
Yep,
out of the
you did say
QB.
that. Yep.
I think the Falcons will win a close game. So it's Aaron Jones, Watson, Bakhtiari, and Walker are all questionable.
Woo.
Bakhtiari's not doubtful. None of them are doubtful, but they're all questionable. You
Yeah,
figure
and
they miss two of them and they play a better coached team that actually runs a lot. Yeah, I think Atlanta will win a close game here, but I'm also a Packers hater, so
and and they'll actually have some pressure, at least sometimes.
well, and they have a little bit of
on
tape
Love.
now. They can kind of see what they
Yeah.
tried to do against the Bears. And
And
also the Bears were just terrible on third down defensively. They were okay
They were.
first and second. Third and fourth down, they got killed.
I have to compliment some of the Packer people I talked to and follow that they said, yeah, Jordan Love was fine. He didn't really show, that he was the, Hall of Fame quarterback in waiting. I was impressed. I thought that there would be some real hot takes on that.
That's good. Can you ask them why they think of the Bears as their rivals when clearly we're not at this point?
Yeah, history, tradition.
Blah, blah, blah.
Actually, most that I know hate the Vikings a lot more than the Bears.
I was going to say, is it the Vikings? I hate the Vikings almost as much as the Packers, so I greatly enjoyed when they lost.
Yes.
Mainly because the people I've known that are Vikings fans, which of course is not actually accurate to the rest of the fan base, that they're just jerks. And it's just like, I don't want them to be happy. Seattle at Detroit.
Detroit's
good. I'm picking them. Seattle
and they're
laid an
home.
egg against the Rams, and it's that whole West Coast team has to play a noon game against a good team. It sometimes doesn't matter, like the Niners-Steelers game. That was just to cause pain to former student Tim. But the Seahawks, I think, I don't know what to think of Geno, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They're down a tackle. That's a bad team to play, down a tackle. I think the Lions are going to be 2-0 and in first place.
Agreed. Everything's coming of Lions.
Yep. That's a sound bit for later.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, take us out of here.
Thanks everyone for listening. We will do a live stream Sunday in the evening, somewhere between 7 and 8 or 9, probably. Mark and I will nail that down. It'll be on YouTube. The Twitch account is still, I'm not getting the help to get that fixed. But so we will be live streaming on YouTube Sunday night. Check the socials for more details. On Twitter, we're at barely_educated. Same with Threads now and Instagram. Facebook, find us there and shoot us an email, barelyeducatedpod@gmail.com. We will talk to you after the Bears play the Bucs.
Shut up, Tim!
My Chicago Bears.
You owe me an apology.
Don't make me angry.
You are indeed a dip from Chicago. My Chicago Bears.
I love the Bears.